What is up, large data bankers? Welcome back to the stream. Happy Friday. Hope you're all doing super, super well. We're listening to Guile's theme just because, sometimes you need a little Street Fighter in your life. That's probably a little loud to start out with. But, hope you guys are doing fantastic. What's up? How's it going? MD Layer, how you doing? Travua, Lisa. Good to see everybody. I don't even know, man. What's all going on? I feel like right now in my head, mainly really thinking about that crazy Java vulnerability that everybody's talking about. What do you all think about that? The log4j, man. Who remembers working with log4j on their Java project? I certainly do. I have to say I don't really miss it. I don't exactly, those switchable logging packages that people like to use in their Java microservices, they're kind of interesting. They're kind of a pain. And apparently they're buggy and full of remote code exploits. That's pretty cool. Did you guys see about how it worked exactly? I think I kind of have a sense for it. Don't totally get it, but I think basically the idea was that there's like some interpolation that you can do that like actually includes like a remote class name or something like that. And if you can kind of specify any class name maybe, and maybe it's like kind of like a URL that you can put in there as well, and it'll go download something from the internet and just run random code just from your logging package. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. People like to talk about like Heartbleed and all of that being super bad, right? But dude, I don't know. This seems worse. It's just so easy to exploit, Everybody uses Java logging. So it's a bit horrifying, I would say. Feel bad for all the people maintaining Java services that are exposed to the internet right now. Even just thinking like, man, what if somebody just logs a request payload? All you have to do is, start putting those class names in request payloads, and maybe you'll get lucky and find a service that just listens to that and goes and downloads it and runs it. So a bit horrifying. A bit horrifying indeed. But I don't know. What else is going on? I feel like this week, I don't know, for me, pretty busy. I would say average busyness. Just regular work stuff, I guess, happening. What, did I do anything super exciting? I don't know. I was going to go to a party this weekend, but it turns out that the host caught coronavirus. So how about that? How about that for a sad thing? Needless to say, the party got canceled. If you're the host of a party and you get the coronavirus before having your party, that's probably a pretty good time to cancel the party, I'd say. Kind of lucky that it's that way rather than random guest, maybe big friend group, who has it, who doesn't, who knows. But if you're the host, probably a good choice to cancel that party. That's kind of what's up with me. I don't know. Went to Park Slope today, had lunch with a coworker. That was kind of fun. Had a chicken sandwich. That fried chicken. So good. Lots of mayo on that sandwich. Lots of cabbage on that sandwich. Crunchy, crispy, sweet. Man, it's a good sandwich. Right now, there's a little bit of construction on my apartment. I hope it's not too audible, but definitely let me know if it is. A little banging, a little sawing. I think they're preparing to get another person up into the upstairs apartment above me. So I guess they're kind of putting some finishing touches or whatever. Maybe the finishing touches have been going on for several months. Could be true, but it is what it is. And we're getting through it. So let's put on some tunes. Here. A little jazz. How's everybody week been? Let me know, What have you guys been up to? What have you been thinking about? What have you been worrying about? I feel like I don't have too many Java people in the audience, is my guess. But let me know if that's something that you were thinking about this week, today, yesterday. Log4j stuff. So what are we going to do today, you guys? I was thinking I'd do two things. I've got a project from last week that I wanted to kind of finish up. We pushed it think it mostly passed tests and stuff like that, but there's a couple tests it wasn't passing, so I was gonna fix that up in the very beginning. We're gonna maybe take a look at something else. We're gonna look at this thing called TLP, or ternary logic partitioning, which is a testing technique that we use at Cockroach to try to find mistakes in SQL. It's pretty cool. There's a few things that I want to add to it. I think in general, it's something that we want to be investing in over time. More features into TLP. Make sure that we're testing the whole surface area of the database. Try to catch all the logic bugs. So I'm going to look into that a little bit. I haven't really edited TLP too much myself, so I'm hoping to get into that a little bit today. And yeah, that's kind of the plan. But, you know, as normal, if you do have any questions about how the database works, or how SQL works in general, or how Cockroach works in general, anything, let me know. Ask away. Love to answer questions in the stream, so it's always welcome. Cool. So let's get into it then. Oh yeah, gophercons this week, right? That's pretty cool. How did it go? Seems like a lot of good participation, maybe. Pretty exciting. Hate people which use Golang. I'm not sure what that second word is. But so yeah, I'm not sure what you mean there. Cool. So last week, what we were working on was this thing, insert onConflict with the onConstraint, if you guys remember. So I had this PR here. Oh. Go after Python. Crowded booth. Virtual booth. Very cool. Matt, did you go to gophercon? Did you give a talk or see any good talks this year? So this feature, oh, we also got a review, which is exciting. So we can go over the review and additionally fix the test that was broken. Generics talk. That's cool. Busy week. Yeah, I didn't really get to watch any of the talks, unfortunately. It was also pretty busy for me. Yeah. Your plans fell through. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of work, a lot of like random sort of year-end wrap-up work that I had on my plate this year. Felt like I couldn't exactly get away to do tech stuff. More focusing on the, other parts of my job, I guess. But yeah, maybe. I mean, they put the talks up, right? So I guess I can come back and watch them if there's any really good ones. I am curious about generics. You know, I'm pretty interested to try them out in the code and mess around a little bit more with generics. You've been doing advent of code with GoTip. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I feel like I've seen a lot of people doing advent this year on Twitter and stuff like that. Maybe more than last year even. I feel like I've heard that some of the problems are a bit easier, a bit less time commitment this year, but it's also only day 10, so maybe they'll get more difficult over time. I haven't done advent in like 3 years. I was doing it a bunch back in the day, but I kind of lost motivation due to the time thing. I don't like doing them late at night, and without that time pressure, I feel like it's less exciting for me. So I kind of, that's the main reason I haven't done them in a while. Yeah, the dusty domains thing. Yeah, for sure. Do you guys see Netlify's dusty domains thing? It's like, if you have an old domain name that you haven't used for a side project, you can resurrect it and you get some cash donated or something like that. It seems pretty cool. I've got my receipt printer project that I talked about last stream. I want to have the stream chat get printed on the receipt printer and then have a camera on it instead of just a text window. But my receipt printer is kind of, it's actually sort of locked up in the office, and I don't think I can get access to it until after the new year, unfortunately. So we'll see. Reading the spec took you longer than actually solving the problem. That's funny. Yeah, I've heard that some of them this year are like kind of like logic-y, right? They're sort of like word puzzles. It seems kind of fun, but maybe not exactly like what people normally expect from the thing. Okay, so what is this project about, you guys? Let me remind you real quick from last time. So insert on conflict is a way of in SQL being able to decide what happens when you insert a row that conflicts in key columns with another row on a key that has a unique constraint on it. So either a primary key or just a unique index. You get to kind of decide. Normally, if you try to insert something with a unique constraint on it, it'll just error out saying, can't do that. There's already a row in this table with a given constraint, right? So it's normally illegal, but with an insert on conflict statement, you can actually choose to say, instead of erroring, just do nothing. That's the no action. Or you can say, give an error, which is the default, or you can actually ask it to set values in the row to a user specified thing if it detects a conflict, right? So you could, for example, implement a counter like that. If you detect a unique violation, instead of just throwing an error and doing nothing, you can actually just +1 that counter on the right-hand side of the table, which is kind of a cool thing. You can make a little atomic counter like that. So that's all good and fine. I think there's a little bit of difficulty for developers who use this feature because you've actually got to specify which index or which constraint to do the conflict detection on. And normally what you do is you actually just specify a list of columns in the table to do the detection on, and the database will infer which unique constraint to use to enforce that or to check the conflict, right? Just by specifying the list of columns. Sometimes though, you actually want to specify the name of a constraint explicitly instead of having to specify a list of columns. And so that's what this insert on conflict on constraint thing was all about. If you remember from last time, you can actually specify the name of a constraint in the statement style rather than having to specify the list of columns and let the database infer the output. So we basically implemented this last time in this PR over here. I'll paste it into the channel in case you're curious. But there's a couple of test failures that I wanted to investigate this time. And I actually got a review from one of my colleagues that I'm hoping to go through and respond to. So that'll be the first half of the stream, and then the second half we'll go and probably work on something new in the testing space. So let's start out by reading the review from M. Gartner. So I wrote a little bit about something that was gross here because, so in Cockroach, we don't do a great job. Oh, by the way, hi, I'm Lazwick. Nice to see you. We don't really distinguish between unique indexes and unique constraints in Cockroach because they're sort of one and the same. We implement unique constraints with a unique index, just like Postgres does most of the time. We can also make a unique constraint that doesn't have an index attached, though, which is what we call unique without index. And so that sort of led to some soul searching about the way that we're representing these constraints in the metadata. So I was kind of writing about the current state of things here. So M. Gartner is saying, it's a bit wonky because we currently don't distinguish between unique indexes and constraints internally like Postgres does. It's not trivial, and we don't know whether we'll have time to address it. I agree with that. Don't think this blocks this PR. Postgres does not allow a unique constraint and an index to share the same name. So there will never be ambiguity in an on-conflict on-constraint statement. Once we get around to fixing our handling of unique index and unique constraints, we can prevent users from choosing unique indexes as arbiter constraints in the new syntax. And then I was asking if we're accidentally reporting partially unique indexes and constraints when they shouldn't be. And Marcus was saying that I did this to match behavior of our unique indexes which appear in PG constraint. Even though this is inconsistent with Postgres, I think we should remove partially unique indexes. We could without causing issues, without waiting for something else to land. Okay, so this is kind of just unrelated stuff, but it's interesting. When we create a partially unique index, it's given the key suffix, and Postgres is given the IDX suffix and cannot be later converted into true constraint. And so M. Gartner has filed another issue here to track this difference that I discovered. So let's take a look at that. Anonymous partial unique indexes are given a suffix of IDX. Cockroach currently gives these indexes a suffix of key. We should match Postgres behavior. Okay, very simple issue. Maybe I'll tag this as a quick win as well, because I do think it's probably a quick win. Although maybe somebody will do it this time. Not sure. Anyway, so this is good to go. So let's take a look now at the actual review here. We'll open it up in Reviewable. So Reviewable is this tool that we use to do code reviews. That's a little bit more better than GitHub reviews. So he's saying it would be cleaner to have a single entry point for getting arbiters and handle the 3 separate logic paths within that function. Most of the arbiter related code lives in whatever.go. Okay, I can think about doing that. This error message is confusing because it can be used as an arbiter index, not just not within the on constraint syntax. I see. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so let's fix that first of all. So this is insert.go in opt builder. What's up, Soren? It's definitely not Wednesday, but appreciate the comment anyway. Do you have CI that tests whether building from TGZ works? You mean our source dump thing? I think we do actually. You don't think so? I think we do actually. I think it's called I think the CI that we use for this is called check generated code. I'm fairly sure that this actually does, or maybe verify archive. Verify that an archive created using make archive produces a valid tar.gz from which a CockroachDB binary can be built and run. I do think that in theory, our thing is supposed to do that. Maybe it doesn't actually work in practice right now though. Right now we are working on adding unconstrained conflict arbiters to CockroachDB, which is a SQL database. Makefile since 21.2 assumes that .git is available. Interesting. I'll have to look into that. Okay, so coming back to this error message, right? Cluster UI resources are not available. That definitely sounds broken. Interesting. Do you actually depend on that thing, M. Laswick? We've always been confused about whether anybody actually uses it, which maybe is part of why the CI thing has rotted. Oh, you've opened a PR or an issue. Awesome. Well, thank you. It seems like somebody's on it as well. So that's great. Thank you for doing that. Soren, you're new to coding? That's cool. Well, welcome to your coding journey. Hopefully if you stick around, you'll learn something, maybe. If you're lucky, maybe you'll learn something. Okay, so unique index for table blah is partial. So cannot be used as an arbiter index via the on constraint. Oops. Syntax. If I switch to fetching from Git, it'll build the console, right? Yes, it will. Okay, so I'll say done for this. I'll come back to that first one because it's actually the hardest for sure. Knit, add a similar test in unique checks upsert with do update set. Unique checks upsert. What the underscore is? Yeah, so this is the Go programming language. And in Go, variables can have multiple return values. So, or functions rather. So this function, which is index.predicate, it returns two things, a string and a Boolean. And when you call the function, you don't have to consume all of the variables that it returns. And if you don't want to consume one of them, instead of putting a variable name that doesn't end up getting used, you can just put an underscore, and the programming language will just ignore the return value that you have specified in that slot. So in this particular case, it means that we're ignoring this first return value, the string, and only checking the second return value, which is the Boolean. So the Boolean goes into this variable called partial, and the string just goes nowhere. So that's what that does in Go. If you're interested in learning Go, there's a couple of resources in the chat there. Yeah, I think Python probably has a similar thing, right? Okay, so we need to add a similar test in unique checks upsert for a bunch of these things. So unique checks insert. And this is line 402. And where's our unconstrained tests? So we're just going to go ahead and copy this, just the test input and not the test output for now. Oh yeah, I saw that somebody was doing the Advent of Code SQL edition thing. That's pretty badass for sure. I'm not sure if I have quite the courage to do that myself, but it's pretty neat. It's probably a pretty good thing to do with your time right before you IPO. Just you're like, shoot, I'm pretty anxious about this IPO. Maybe I should do some Advent of Code solutions in SQL until I'm waiting, while I'm waiting. There doesn't seem to be a unique checks upsert file. Maybe he means the unique checks update file, which I'm in right now. Yeah, he must mean that. Yeah, I think leet code is a pretty good way to learn stuff. I think a lot of people have like a particular project that they like to do over and over again in different languages. Like things like building a Lisp, for example. That's a pretty good project that it's pretty tricky, but pretty fun, and kind of helps you, learn the language pretty deeply. If you're familiar with building Lisps, it's a fun little exercise. Some people like to do like ray tracers. That's another classic one to learn a language. But I think, yeah, if you're newer, I think leet code is also really good, like picking a little project and just doing it. Really doing anything is a good way to learn. That's my advice for people. When people ask what to do, it's like, well, literally just pick anything, and doing any practice, that's going to be the best thing you can do, rather than obsess about, what is it exactly that you should do. Really picking anything is going to be good. I really like doing Lisps, actually. That's why I said it first. Building a database it's a pretty big project. It's a bit bigger than a Lisp or a ray tracer. I've never really done a ray tracer, actually. I think that would be pretty fun, but I've never gotten around to doing it. Do set. wonder where to put this in the test file. Maybe I'll just put it at the bottom. All right, it's probably update. Okay, so we're going to do update unique. Is there no upsert? I'm confused about what this is about. Lead coding in Java is hard? Well, I don't think it's that bad. I think it's pretty similar to other languages. It's just a bit more verbose, and you have to have a little bit more like tooling on your computer, but I think Java is a pretty good language to do lead code. You're 15. Oh, that's awesome, man. It's so cool to see that you're getting such a good head start on learning all of this stuff. I think that in my experience, I also learned to program in high school. I think I'm biased because this was my path, so I think it's the best, but people who get a head start and start learning in high school, I think that they have a head start. It's also how I got my start. I did it as a hobby in high school and kind of built it up from there. Didn't ever think I was going to do it as a career, but that's kind of what it became for me. Advent is a way to learn a new language. Russ Cox was solving one with awk. I thought he was solving it with like some other calculator style language or something, like Elm or something. What was it called? Ivy. You only got into it after your master's. Oh, thanks for the compliment on the hair, by the way. One question: you use awk. I didn't think that we had do update set. I didn't think we did have a do update set for things that weren't insert. Okay, so the next ones were, I'd sprinkle these tests in the test update set expressions. And test do nothing sections, right? Under test, the same behavior, but the column selection syntax. Okay, that's fair. These test files get really big and hard to organize, I think. So just basically going to move these into a different spot. Okay, he also wants me to change the tables, which is fair. Insert into ABC. I'm not sure why this is so necessary. Just gonna, maybe I think I'll just leave it. Okay, okay, done. I left the different tables though, because it's a more interesting test case. The XYZ table has more constraints. Or is that even true? It's got the primary key constraint, I guess. Okay. Now let's just do this last one then. On constraint. Oh, no worries about the sub, Soren. It's no big deal. Definitely not expecting subs from people. So, hey Rain, how's it going? Nice to see you. Happy Friday. We're finishing up a project that we started last time, but in a second, we're going to switch to something a little bit different. If we can fix these test failures, respond to review comments, and etc. But yeah. Actually, just in the end, I sort of disagree with this knit. I looked at doing this. Okay, so that's that. And then the original comment, though, is definitely more interesting. It'd be cleaner to have a single entry point for getting arbiters. So what does he mean by this? Let's take a look. What's up, Robin? Yeah, I don't know how Git Number is not the default. It's such a game changer, right? For people who don't know what Git Number is, it's this really, really nice little plugin that when you do stuff like git status, normally like it just gives you the names of the files down here. and you have to manually like write the names or copy paste them or something if you want to add them all or remove them all or do something like that. But with Git Number, it gives you this handy little number. And then every time that you want to do anything, you can just use that number to refer to it. And what's even better is you can refer to the numbers by range. So you don't have to say git add 1, 2, 3, for example. You can say git add 1-3, and it's going to add all the files from 1 through 3, which gets really handy if you're doing big changes. I have no idea why it's not the default, but it is pretty cool. There's a few other programs that actually give this for you besides Git Number. I forget the names of them, but they're actually a lot more complicated, and they have way more features, and I forget the name, but I don't know. I just feel like Git Number is just the right amount of complexity for usefulness. So that's why I really like it. Okay, so what does he mean by this other thing though? Just git add -a or git add dot or whatever. That's it's always a good way to do things. Just add everything. Just worry about it later. So what does he mean by this though? What does he mean by this? So it would be cleaner to have a single entry point for getting arbiters. mb.find arbiters and handle the 3 separate logic paths within that function. So is he saying that everybody calls get arbiters from onConflict? So is he, I wonder if he's saying that like, maybe he's just saying that this entire function should go live in the arbiter file. I can do that. Zup. You're interviewing for your boss. How do you decide that the individual is any good? So you're saying that you're an IC and you're interviewing people who might become your engineering manager, and you're trying to decide what kind of questions to ask? That's an interesting question. Is that what you're saying, or are you saying that, yeah, what are you saying? You're an IC and you do some mentoring. I think that's a good question. I mean, you should ask them about what their philosophy on leadership and management is. I think that's usually a pretty good question. Like, you know, how do you just ask them what they think? You know, make it a really open-ended question. Don't ask them any too specific things. Just like be really open-ended. You know, how do you manage a team? How do you like to make sure that projects are getting done? How do you think about accountability? How do you think about career growth and mentorship? I mean, just ask these really open questions and see what kind of things that they say and see how comfortable they are with talking about that stuff. I think people should have thought about this stuff, and you should think that, you know, you should think about their style and whether it's compatible with what you want your team to be. Everybody has different styles, I think, and part of finding a good eng manager, I think, is making sure that, you know, whatever style comes into the company is something that you think is going to be advantageous for you and your team. You know, you're in the driver's seat fundamentally, right? You're doing this interview and you have some latitude about what you want to bring in. So I would think about that. When is it okay to work out of business hours? If they say rewrite it in Rust, just end the interview. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think that you know, if you're the kind of company that, yeah, it just depends on a lot of things, I would say. I think one thing that I like to think about is what mix of personality, styles, and strengths and weaknesses you have on the team already, and seeing, you know, maybe your team's really, really analytical and really focused and and not so good at, thinking about other people and empathy and communication and stuff like that. If you've got a team like that, you might want to find somebody who does have some of those missing skills, like that EQ and, that real focus on personalities and communication and collaboration and stuff like that. Maybe you already have a lot of that on the team though, and you need somebody who's a bit more technical, who can drive some, different practices on the team, or, operationalness on the team, or, maybe you're a team that just kind of wishes that it could have more accountability and more deadlines and stuff like that. Maybe, sometimes teams don't have that, and you could be looking for that in a manager. There's a lot of different things I feel like that you might want to be looking for. It is hard, yeah. Why are we using a panic here? It's because in the optimizer, we tend to use panics like exceptions. It's a very scoped use case, the SQL query optimizer. So we kind of go against the grain a little bit. Usually in Go, we don't like to use panics as exception and use try-catch pattern with panics. But in the optimizer, since it's very constrained and very a certain way, we use panics for error handling, just to simplify things. How did I get into working with databases? I've always been interested in systems programming and language development and stuff like that, and open source and Cockroach. I joined this company in 2016 when it was still pretty small. It checked a lot of boxes. It was systems, it was open source, it was small, and it was in New York, which is where I live. So I kind of took a chance, and that's why I've been working on databases. I didn't really work on databases before 2016 when I joined Cockroach Labs. Started working on CockroachDB. Okay, so I think what's going on here is that I think what we want to do is move this big function into something else. I think we want to call it find arbiters. So I think what we're going to do is basically move this whole function. We're going to move this whole function into the mutation builder arbiter.go file. And I think that we're Robin, you also work at a company with labs in the name. It's a very trendy company name style, I think. People love to be a lab these days. No, I've never watched Frying Pan. I'm not sure what that is, actually. So I think what we're going to do is we're actually going to take this entire body and put it into this function, maybe. Find arbiters returns a set of arbiters for an insert on conflict statement. Both unique indexes and unique constraints can be arbiters. No arbiters are found, we panic. Honestly, I feel like the function that's described here I think the function that's described here is basically the second half. And what we should do is, I think we should rename find arbiters to be something else. It's sort of like, it's basically like find arbiters. It's sort of like infer arbiters from, this thing is called conflict ords. So these are the ordinal indexes of columns within the constraint, I think. So let's actually call this infer arbiters from conflict ords. And so then let's actually grab this, and we're going to move this up top over here. And we're going to actually call this thing find arbiters. So we're renaming this bigger function find arbiters, and we're changing the more specific one to be something a lot more specific, infer arbiters from conflict ords. So we're going to say infer arbiters from conflict ords. And we basically need to rephrase what this is saying. Is a helper function for find arbiters that infers a set of conflict arbiters from a list of, I guess they're sort of called like, what are these things called? Column ordinals that a user specified in an on-conflict clause. Okay. See the comment above find arbiters for more information about what arbiters are. Okay. So how about this? I feel like this is an improvement. Okay, so let's go back to the comment. Okay, done. I renamed this function find arbiters, moved it to the file you named, and renamed the old find arbiters to be, what did I call it? Infer arbiters from conflict ords. Infer arbiters from conflict ords. Okay, so that's that. This is fixed. This I don't know about. This I don't know about. This I responded to. And the last thing to fix is there's actually some test failures that I need to track down here. So let's jump into CI, try to understand what's failing here. So it's this test CCL logic partitioning implicit. So let's actually go ahead and run that locally. We're going to run make test. We can run make test CCL logic files equals, what is it called? It's called partitioning implicit. Not sure why this is taking so long. I think maybe some caches aren't populated or something. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we get an error And we see expected but found. And the question is, what is the difference here? And they're both pretty long. So I think what I'll do is maybe copy these into a file. Although I actually see the difference. There's, in the found, we actually have 2 constraint checks. And in the expected, we only have 1 constraint check, which is definitely weird. And it kind of, I think what this means is that I probably did something wrong when I refactored the way that the upsert and insert code both call into this arbiter selection thing. So I think what we need to do is take a look at how that works. Yeah, so this build input for upsert looks like it did something different before. So let's take a look at, well, first let's make a little temporary commit here. So we want to git add 1, 2, and I think we're going to ignore the changes to, yeah, we need to get rid of this change to 3, git CO3. And we also want to get rid of the changes to this one. So it's just these 2 changes. We'll call it whip. And right, so I think what we want to do is git show. We want to kind of, well, just want to maybe git diff from the commit before we did any of this stuff. And so then we can maybe see what we changed here and maybe hopefully find out what we did wrong. So in our build input for upsert, I think there's one big difference, which is that we So before what we did is when we passed in things to build input for upsert, in this case, we grabbed the primary key ordinals and used those as the ones that we're passing in. And now we're passing in nil for onConflict. And I think lower down in the code, we're actually, we use this information to do the same thing, I thought, but maybe we're screwing that up. So if I go down into build input for upsert and I run find arbiters on nil, we're supposed to do this case. And it might be that this is not working properly. Seems like what we're doing in this case is saying, if we see no unconflict constraint, we mean that we're in the upsert case, which should use the primary constraint as the arbiter. Okay, so then, that seems right. And then let's take a look at the difference again when we run our test case. What we end up seeing is that the expected case actually, does it use the primary key? I don't think it does. It's actually kind of weird. I'm not really sure what the difference is here, actually. It's a bit weird, but we did actually change the code here. So maybe what we ought to do is just go back and use exactly the same code that was used before. That seems proper because I don't really understand the change, and I kind of just changed the code to behave as the comment claimed it did. But as we all know, comments don't always exactly explain what's going on in a piece of code. So why don't we just go ahead and use this logic instead of the other logic. So we're going to copy this. And we're going to say, if we see a nil on conflict, we need to kind of grab conflict ordinals like this and then invoke I guess we have to sort of fall through to this case, which is a little bit annoying, honestly. I think we can just probably call it like this, though. So did I delete map public column names to ordinals? Oh, I see. This was map public column names to ordinals. Okay, so that's actually fine. In fact, this is actually just the same code that we have down below. So I think maybe we just get rid of this case. If we have a nil on conflict, I don't know, this is confusing. Used to work for Walmart Labs. There you go. Oh, it's actually, I copied and pasted the wrong thing. It's actually this guy that we're supposed to copy paste. So get explicit primary key ordinals is the thing, not the other one. Let's get rid of this. We want this. Okay, so we get our explicit primary key ordinals, and then the next thing that we were doing is passing those directly into build input for upsert, which previously simply passed the ordinals that it found into find arbiters, which is now we still have find arbiters, but now it's this more complicated thing. So I think what we want to do is call this infer arbiters from conflict ords thing. So I think what we do is this. We say primary ords is equal to this. Then we say return mb.infer arbiters from conflict ords, and we pass in primary ords. And that's hopefully it. We also need to pass in a predicate, but I think the predicate started off as nil before, right? The predicate here was nil. Okay, so let's try that and see what happens. Nil, arbiter, predicate. Okay, so let's try that and let's see if the test passed at this point. Okay, clearly this didn't actually rebuild, which is mucho sketchy. Walmart Global Tech. Okay, so that actually did fix the problem. So we're going to git add one. We're going to git log. Let's just rebase against origin master here. And we'll fix up here. We'll git push fmine. And I think that should be that. I guess we should also, there's also a static check failure. Get explicit primary key ordinals is unused, but that's no longer unused because we just ran it. So that's fine. What about this multi-region 9 node region 3AZs thing? I'm guessing that this failed just randomly, but let's just double check on that. What package is that in? Test CCL logic, multi-region 9. I think that's just a flake. I'm going to ignore that. Okay, so we push this. We're going to go to the review. We're going to respond. Okay, thanks. Thanks for the commentary here. Okay. Cool. So with that out of the way, I think we can go ahead and move on to talking about something a little bit different, which is something called ternary logic partitioning. So ternary logic partitioning, it's a test style where we try to detect issues with the execution engine and the optimizer by running a particular query and then partitioning the query in 3 ways. That's why it's called ternary. That it's supposed to cover all of the different possible cases for that query using different predicates to sort of partition the results of that query, and making sure that, since theoretically the partitions should all sort of add up to be the same as the original query, making sure that they really do all add up to be the same as the original query. So for example, a select star from table, that gives you all the rows in a table. And it should be the case that if you add up the results of 3 other queries, so select star from table where, and then a given predicate, and then also add up the results of select star from table where not that predicate, and then since SQL also has sort of 3-way logic, right? It's not just true and false. The things can also be null. We also have to add up the results of select star from table where that predicate is null. If we add up all of these different outputs, we should get an exact same result set as the original select star from table, right? So this is basically testing that this predicate is getting evaluated properly. And this is very effective at finding bugs. There's a few different forms of TLP. This is a sort of a simple one, but there's other forms you could imagine. Instead of just doing a where projection, or instead of just doing a where, you could also do a projection, right? You could select, P, comma, not P, comma, P is null from table, and you should get exactly 1 true in every row. And I think that would be sort of the same as this, except testing projections instead of wheres. And I think there's a few other forms of this that we test as well. So this is really good testing, and it does actually find problems from time to time. And I wanted to kind of go through and enhance it a little bit by looking at the kinds of things that it generates, and maybe try to add some more predicates or add some more schema styles or something like that. I've also never really messed with this code too much, so I wanted to sort of understand how it worked a little bit better.
I just don't know what I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. I mean, for one thing, to be honest, now that I'm looking at this, it actually kind of seems like we don't test the projection version of this, which seems like a bit of a miss. Like, I think maybe it's always using wheres and never using the sort of projection case. Could that be true? So let's take an example on the SQL shell here. This could be an easy enhancement, since I sort of see what's going on here. Let's just run a quick build. What's up, Knight of Dolamroth? The reason the compiler is so slow is that the project has like 2 million lines of code. So it's just a big project is all. Okay, so now that we've got that compiled, also like an incremental compile is a lot faster, as you might imagine. I think I've switched branches recently or something like that, so a bunch of stuff had to recompile. Yeah, Cockroach is definitely one of the biggest open source Go projects out there. I think Kubernetes is pretty big as well, but Cockroach is definitely one of the biggest ones, which is cool. Okay, so for example, let's say we made a table, create table A int primary key, B int C int or something, and we did an explain. So if we said select star from A, like the idea of TLP is to say that this is going to be equivalent to something like select star from A where B is equal to 3, union all, select star from A where not B is equal to 3, union all, select star from A where B equals 3 is null, I think. And I think that this should always be equivalent to this is the idea. But a question that I have, so like, let's look at the explain for this. So the explain for this says there's a filter 3 ways. We've got a filter, we've got a filter, we've got a filter. And if there's indexes, you know, it'd also be using the indexes instead of doing the filter. But I think that we don't necessarily also plan it the same way as if I were to say select star from A. I guess what it would be is actually select B is equal to 3 from A, union all, select not B is equal to 3 from A, union all, select B is equal to 3 is null from A. I guess it wouldn't be the union though. It'd actually be select B is equal to 3, not B is equal to 3. B is equal to 3 is null from A. And this should have exactly the same number of rows as A. And it should also always have exactly one true in it. Is that interesting as a test case? Hey Matt, yeah, I was looking at your Twitter and I saw your tweet. Congrats on quitting and finding a new job. That's really exciting. It's pretty cool stuff. So it sounds like at least one of the things you're going to do is redoing a PC. Do some streaming. That's sweet. That's sweet. Hope I can catch one. 6 weeks off, man. That's awesome. That is really cool. What's up, Null Bitmap? How's that whiteboarding going? Hope you took your most powerful whiteboard marker to do battle with. I'm actually curious, like if I go to look at the TLP paper, ternary logic partitioning, does it talk about this thing that I'm talking about? Like doing projections and not just wheres? Can be used to test where, group by, and having clauses, aggregate functions, and distinct queries. But what about just projections? Do we ever just do projections? So here's the thing that we do in Cockroach. I feel like it doesn't do the projections. I think we should add that. That'd be kind of cool. I don't know. Let's try that. Anyway, communication becomes easier when you answer projections with, okay, let's write the code to do that and see what it would look like. I like that. Yeah. Keeping it operational, right? Thinking about that. Yeah. How can we actually get there? Yeah. It is a cool idea. What do you think about this idea though? Like, how come we're not testing like I wonder if Manuel thought about this style. So like a query that basically projects the predicates and makes sure that every row is represented and every row has exactly one true in it. I'm surprised that we didn't look at that, because a lot of the time I think in databases projections are implemented differently. Maybe it's just like less cool because wheres are like more powerful and exciting because they do like indexes and stuff like that. And projections are just sort of an execution based thing. So maybe this is just sort of like a non-interesting, I don't know. You agree, basically, okay, cool. See you later. Good luck. I said like 5 things and Null Bitmap was like, yeah, I agree. I'm like, what? Crap, which one is he agreeing with? Okay. Do you want to ban too, Matt? I'll happily ban you. That user actually had a pretty good username for getting banned. Like there was no number suffix. I feel like a lot of the time these viewers have number suffixes, and that makes it easier to spot them. I feel like I'm going to try this out and we'll see what it's like. And if it's dumb, then maybe someone will tell me and it's okay. So let's see how this works. If we run generate DLP, what do we kind of expect to see? We expect to see an unpartitioned and a partitioned, and then I guess it's supposed to verify that they're identical, right? So we run unpartitioned, we run partitioned, and then we run unsorted matrices diff, which I suppose is just diffing things. So it's very simple, actually. Expected unpartitioned and partitioned results to be equal. So maybe what we could do is actually add a new implementation that says, I guess like maybe case 3, we could say return, we could do generate projection TLP or something like this. And generate projection TLP is going to be a new one. That's very similar to the where TLP, except it'll be a bit different. I feel like this could be interesting. Let's try it. And if it's dumb, it's dumb, but I'm going to try it just to get experience with how TLP works in general. So we're going to do generate projection TLP. So generate projection TLP returns 2 SQL queries with strings. Can be used by the generate TLP function. These queries make use of projections and where clauses to. Actually, does this even make any sense? Like, hold on a minute. How do we decide what the original? It's just always select star. So we're never testing projections. I do think that this should be interesting. To test that partitioning a projection query using the projections produces the same output, partitioned or not. For example, first query returned is an unpartitioned query of the form. Select pred, not pred. Pred is null. From table. The second query returned is a partition query of the form. Select p, not p. P is null from table where p. You see what I mean? You know, actually, now that I think about it, why don't we just enhance the where one to just do that as well? I think that would be the cooler thing to do. So let's go up to the where clause here. Instead of just doing this, we actually want to say something a little bit cooler. We want to say, instead of just select star, we're going to say select star, comma, s. I guess let's actually just generate this full predicate. So projection is equal to fmt.sprintf s, or it's s, not s, s is null. And then pass in predicate here. And I guess what we can actually do here is use, how's this work? Is it like this? Or like this? Okay, so we make our projection. So we're gonna do select star, comma, s, comma, s, comma, s, and then add in our projection. And I feel like this is a cheap way of getting all of this for free and making the whole thing a little bit more complicated and hopefully finding a little bit more stuff inside. And we'll see, actually I'm curious, does the optimizer just optimize this stuff out though? Let's say we did this from A. So we can explain this where b is equal to 3. Does it just optimize this away? It might actually. No, it doesn't seem like it does. Which is funny. I feel like it should, but it doesn't. Cool. Okay, so that's hilarious, but fine. And then honestly, I think we're good to go at this point, right? Let's actually just save this then and then run. How do I run this TLP test exactly? Run TLP query. How do I actually even run this thing? Register TLP. It's a roach test? How the heck am I supposed to actually run this thing though? Literally have no idea. Maybe I say make bin roach test and see if it. Hold on, I'm gonna be right back for a sec. little bit of chaos at home, honestly. Landlord's trying to change the keys. He's like, "Are you around?" I'm like, "Yeah." So I might have to run out and get the new key. It's because somebody, you know, they've been doing all this work. They wanted to change the keys, whatever. Blah blah blah. A lot of effort. Okay, so now that this is done, though, let's see what we can actually do here. So bin roach test. How does this work? We say run help. So how do I just run TLP? Binary not found or is not accessible. I wish that you could just run it locally, man. It's kind of annoying. Like I just want to run this as a unit test. I don't want to have to run it as a roach test. It's much more irritating. How do I just, can I ask it to run against, can I run it as a workload? That's another idea, make bin workload. So if I run bin workload, run TLP, does that do something? Maybe that'll do something. Unknown command TLP. Okay, so I guess not. It has to be a roach test, which is honestly, maybe I should fix that while I'm at it. There's also this thing called bin smith test, which I didn't even know about. If I run make bin smith test, no. So confused. There's a lot of these weird, larger scale tests, honestly. Don't really know what I'm doing with them. Put some lights on. Okay, so if I run Smith test, what do I get? Help. So here we get no such file cockroach. So I guess this is not really what we're looking for either. It seems like we only can do this as a quote unquote roach test, which is very irritating. Maybe we should fix that too, you know? Shouldn't we fix this? It's like this thing. Don't get this. Okay, maybe there's a way. Can we run this thing just with a special? Oh, there is a local thing. So if I run -- local and then run TLP, what happens? Okay, that does do something. But what is it doing? Oh, Lord. What is it even running against, though? So it's using my local binary, uploading library files, starting cluster, and then it's running and I just get an error immediately? I feel like don't really understand this, honestly. What if I run it again? What if that was just a fluke? This does not seem good. This does not seem good by any means. Okay, wait. Roach prod destroy local. Roach prod create local. This seems like so incredibly broken. Okay, maybe I need to say roachprod create local nodes equals 1. Try that. And then run this. Does that do something good? Okay, this seems to be working a lot better. So I think I was just missing some initial setup here. Aha. Okay, so this is looking better. Expected unpartitioned and partitioned results to be equal, but I have true, false, false, and that's because I probably just failed to complete the actual result here. This needs to be deleted. This generate projection TLP thing needs to go away. So we don't have that. We don't need it at all. Let's just get rid of this altogether. And then our where TLP is going to be, it's now more advanced. So here, how does this work? In our part 1, we're doing select one star, select one star, select one star. So unpartitioned. I think my unpartitioned one needs to be updated. That's the issue here. So let's grab this, push this down below. And our unpartitioned is actually going to include star comma projection, or star comma S from S. And the first S is going to be our projection. And then hopefully this will now be the same thing. I need to make bin roach test again. Okay, so that seems to be working, and I guess as expected, we're not finding any issues. That's not that exciting, but it is, I think it's good. You know, I think the tests should be a little bit more advanced at this point, exercising a little bit more. So that's cool. Am I satisfied though? Not really. So let's make a little commit for this and see what we think about it. So let's delete that. Package command, Smith test, git add 1. Let's make a new branch for this. Git checkout -b TLP projections. Git commit, SQL Smith, enhance TLP to test predicate projections. This commit enhances the where TLP generator to also output the projection of the predicates in both the partitioned and unpartitioned query outputs. The optimizer doesn't seem to elide the, well, let's just get rid of that. Release note, none. The purpose of this enhanced testing is to make sure that projection output is identical to in both the partitioned and unpartitioned cases. Now, is this even testing anything? Let's think about it. I think what we're not testing as much as we could be, because we really should also be testing that every row has exactly one true in it. We're not testing that. So is there a way that we can test that without having to change how TLP works altogether? We really want to test that. Yeah, we've got exactly one true. We've also got it. We also really want to test that in every given. Oh, I have an idea. I have an idea. So I think what we can do is this. So let's run a demo here. So I think I can say select. So we're gonna basically say, well, let's make our table first. Create table A. We're gonna do our select. This one. So I think what we can also do is, instead of just doing our regular projections like this, I think we can also statically include something like this: true, false, false. Okay? Which seems dumb, but it's not, because then when we construct our union alls, we're actually also, actually no, it's just, we can just always encode a true. Always encode a true. If we always include a true here, then when we do our union all, we can make sure to include the projection of the predicate that we're selecting right after the star, right after all three projections. So we're basically testing, like, first of all, that all the projections are returning the right thing, even in the filtered case. And second of all, we're testing that the projection that we're filtering on, the predicate that we're filtering on, not only is, it always returns true, in other words, and the other ones always return false. So yeah, no, it's a little bit crazy, but I think it's good. I think it's good. It's a little bit crazy, but I think it's good. Kind of hard to say kind of hard to phrase what I'm talking about, to be honest. But I think it all basically depends on the fact that we actually need to statically encode this true, false, false thing somewhere. It's a little bit awkward. It's a little bit awkward, but I think it's going to be good if I can figure out exactly how to phrase it. I think we need all three of them, not just the true case, because we need to also prove that the other two are always false. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. Here's our projection. And then we're also going to say here in the unpartitioned case, true, false, false. Okay? And then in part 1, we're going to include okay, I think what we need to do is a little bit more trickery. So we need to say pred 1, pred 2, pred 3. So pred 1 needs to be predicate. Pred 2 is equal to not, well, let's just do format.sprintf not predicate. Hey, Mark. Values cast true as int plus cast false as int plus cast false as int. I see. So assert that it's always... I think that's good, but it doesn't protect us against the case where our projection returns the wrong ordering. Like you could conceivably get a projection that somehow you're returning true in the wrong slot. So I think the order also matters, and I'm not really sure if there's a better way to encode that than just putting them in a little tuple. Multiply by 10 and 100. Yeah, I guess that's true. But it may not be necessary because we're just going to put them in a tuple in the end, right? We still have to like put, I don't know. I'm going to do it like this for now. So then we have S is null predicate. And then over here, we're going to say select star. We're going to do our special. I guess we should also call this like all proj. All preds. So we're going to do all preds. We're going to do and then S, S, S. Is this overkill? Very possibly. I don't know. So then the key thing here is that we've got to say the true has always got to come first. So we're going to do pred 1, pred 2, pred 3. And here we're going to say pred 2, pred 1, pred 3. And here we're going to say pred 3, pred 1, pred 2. I think this is going to provide a little bit more exhaustive goodness, but it's hard to say. Maybe it's pointless. Let's make sure it at least works. Okay. And you know what? I think what I want to also do here is disable the other cases here. So we'll just say switch TLT type is equal to 0. So we'll just always be running our new TLP. Okay. Okay, so looks like I've encoded it wrong. So I'm getting, instead of true, false, false, I'm just getting true, comma. Did I somehow miss? Probably did something a little bit wrong here. Okay, so my unpartitioned case has true, false, false after the all preds case. And here I'm supposed to have true, false, false, because my S here. Oh, I can also simplify this a little bit, right? Just make sure that things are good. This is pred 1. This is pred 2. This is pred 3. I don't think that's going to fix whatever error I'm having here. But just to make sure. Let's see if it does. Oops. It almost seems like there's some kind of string interpolation thing going wrong, or maybe this thing doesn't know actually how to deal with tuples. And in fact, there's no point to having these as tuples. So I'm just going to get rid of the tupleness of it to see if that fixes things. It's really unnecessary. So no tuples. Let's see if it's just sort of a parsing issue. Oh, I'm seeing null, which seems rather wrong. Or do I need to somehow adjust? Or maybe that's expected.
I was wondering if maybe you'd like to go to the beach and maybe get a coffee after or something, if that's alright.
So how do I deal with nulls? Right, that's part of the whole point of this. Yeah, of course the predicate itself can be null. That's part of the entire point. But I just want to make sure that in the case... Right, so it's not necessarily that it's true, false, false. It could be null, null, true. It's either null, null, true. Or, sorry, it's either true, false, false, or true, null, null, I think is kind of what I'm supposed to be looking for. Yeah, it's either true, false, false, or true, null, null, depending. Now, how can I deal with that? I suppose in this case, in this last case, if this pred 3 is true, these second ones really should be null. So I think what I could say is not null or something. Or no, this one is null. This one is not null. Is not null. I think that maybe will work. But now I'm seeing instead of or null if not pred. I'm confused. I wish that this thing would tell me. Okay, so here's the select star, and then I print out inet contains or equals this giant thing, not inet contains or equals this giant thing, inet contains or equals this giant thing is null, and then true, false, false. And then over here, what I'm expecting is, here I've got my where. And in my last union all, I have select star, this, blah, 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 the whole thing. And the where is null. And so I want the first case to be true. It's almost impossible to read this. It's very annoying. I think what I should do is add some new lines to this to make it easier to read. So let's do that. Let's change these to be backticks. Okay, maybe this will help, maybe. Okay, so again, I see null, null, null. True, true, false, true? I feel like I also want the output to make it a little bit more easy to read, but not just including the diff, but including the two outputs. So let me fix that real quick as well. Diff unpartitioned partitioned. Maybe it does do that. Diff. Oh, it just includes. Okay, so I think what I'm seeing here is null. So this null, null, true. That's what it is. So I'm seeing null here, true. That makes sense. And then I'm supposed to see true, false, false. But in this last case, I'm seeing true for the final position, which, what in the world does that mean? And what's worse is that I don't even know which union all clause is the one that's actually causing me grief. Although wait, no, I think I do know. I think it's the case where it's definitely this final case, right? Because we know that this third projection is true, and the third projection is this thing is null. And if that's the case, it has to be the case that we're in the third partition. So part 3, and part 3 is Part 3 is definitely expecting. It's basically that the not pred whatever is not null. Oh, is there like a precedence thing maybe? Could that be the issue? Just make sure. Okay, so we see blah is null, blah is not null, not blah is not null. Is this a precedence thing? What if I just surround the entire thing in parentheses here? Is that gonna solve it? That would be sad for all of us. Okay, I think it was a precedence thing. Okay, that was sad, but it's exciting because now this test is working. Again, I'm not totally sure how good of a thing this is, but I think it's cool, at least. I think it's cool. It's verifying some things that we weren't verifying before. Probably. It's not surprising that it's not finding any failures, because that would mean our database is fairly broken. But that's okay. Thanks for the 1-bit anonymous cheer. Okay, so cool. Let's let this run a bit. We're assuming it's not going to find any problems, but if it did, that'd be cool. And let's take a look at the other types of TLP just to understand them. So we have an outer join TLP, an inner join TLP, and an aggregation TLP. Let's take a look at the aggregation TLP. So the aggregation TLP returns 2 SQL queries as strings that can be used by the generate TLP function. They make use of where and a predicate to partition into 3. The aggregations that are supported are max, min, and count. So what does it mean? It means we say select max from, and the partition is select max from, wow, this looks complicated. So oh, I see. Oh, I see. So we take a max over all of them, and we partition in each case. It's either max over the things that are pred, max over the things that are not pred, and max over the things that pred is null. And then max of those maxes is expected to be the same as the original max. I guess that's cool. Min is the same. And count is a little bit different. We take a sum and then count on the inside. I guess that's cool. So so it finished. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Seems to be a good thing. So one thing that I was gonna look at is we do in theory have a couple of these issues about TLP. One is about multi-region. So basically including more table types in the initial setup of TLP, and then issuing test queries from different gateway nodes, which is fairly complicated, but seems important. Create random indexes during mutation. Could add that. Improve TLP predicate generation. TLP does not test index backfill because it creates all indexes on empty tables. To get better randomized test coverage of index backfill logic, it can create indexes during mutations. In addition, running mutations concurrently rather than serially might uncover hard to find bugs in the backfill process. I don't know. It's hard to decide whether doing those particular things during the test is like the most useful randomization to add. I don't know. I'll be right back. I'm just gonna use the bathroom real quick. I'm back. So maybe I'll look at this predicate generation thing just because that seems to be the open issue at least. Which doesn't seem like the most satisfying thing. I mean, one thing that we did on the stream before that we could do again is to enhance the initial schema that all of these things use. I mean, I feel like that's the most high leverage thing that you can ever do in this kind of testing, because basically a bunch of these different randomized tests, they all use sort of like an initial schema that's created in a very specific way. And adding randomization to that and using more database features is always a way that just to get automatic exercising of new stuff. So we could conceivably edit that a bit. I don't know. In general, the reason I'm doing this is I just feel like it's very high leverage to keep doing these tests, keep editing these tests, making them more powerful, because they run all the time. They're random. There's always more coverage to explore and stuff like that. So that's why I'm interested in it. And TLP is kind of cool. I want to think more about how to do better TLP things, but I feel like I need to just like sit down and think about it a little bit and not do that part on stream. But I do want to remember, where the heck is this like random schema stuff created? That I don't remember. So this is making a random SQL script, but where's the like initial setup stuff? That's what I don't remember. New Smither. There's got to be like an init, right? No init? There's definitely an init somewhere. There's definitely an init. It's just the question is, where is this thing? Where is this thing? So if I run generate TLP, run TLP query, where is this setup that we use here? What we do is we say new smither, defer close, and then where do we actually like? Oh, is it this rand table setup name? I think it must be this. Rand tables. So rand tables lives here. Wrap common setup rand tables. Okay, so rand tables runs rand tables n. Rand tables n does a bunch of stuff. It randomly creates tables. It uses a few mutators, which add statistics, add partial indexes, and add foreign keys. So that is what we can do. Ooh, my project is now out of date. I was doing this earlier in the stream, but I think I'm done with that for now. So let's edit it. We'll say commands, edit, project, updating, enhancing. We'll say enhancing CockroachDB's TLP test suite. Ternary logic partitioning test suite to test more types of schemas and queries. Okay. So inside of rand create table, the question is like, what do we actually do in here? We add random columns, we add random defs, we add random primary key with high likelihood, we make computed columns, we make indexes, we make column families, we sometimes add storing columns. And I think that's it. So other features, it doesn't seem like we really do. Although then we do like remutate that stuff later by running these so-called mutators, which can add statistics, partial indexes, and foreign keys. So what else? All right, so one of the main things that we could be adding in this particular thing was some of these multi-region features. And I suppose we could like dive into that a little bit. Right, if I search random table multi-region, maybe there's something there. Multi-region test. Multi-region SQLsmith maybe is another keyword I could search for. Nikon. How are you doing? How's life?
I have designed this speaker to amplify my thoughts so people will quit asking me for sandwiches. That should work, right? I don't know what you're talking about, Space Ghost. Go ahead, my show was...
Wow, congratulations. That's really exciting. So what does that mean for you, your own career path? I feel like we should cheers with a little champagne or something. Own business, getting customers and building software and using Cockroach. That is awesome. So cool. Wow. That is really exciting. So much freedom, so much potential, so much possibility. Anything could happen. Generate queries which read from virtual tables and built-ins. I like that idea quite a bit. I could look at doing that. Use table and column IDs in queries? I feel like that's not so interesting. Backup restore doesn't respect statement time. Okay, that's just sort of random.
How's it going, man?
Skip locked. Skip locked is pretty tough. I think that people have been thinking about skip locked. I definitely can't just do skip locked, unfortunately. Although that would be pretty cool. What's the latest thinking on this guy?
Are you still here?
I see you're in this thumbs up list.
Welcome to the program. I'm sorry. I thought the show was over. It started? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
I see. So you've commented a bunch on this. Actually, I feel like can't remember. I feel like some people have thought about this. Skip lock is not yet planned. We're hesitant to introduce it because, unlike no 8, it's a direct violation of serializable isolation. Complicates the implementation and leads to ambiguity. Blah blah blah. Not sure quite what to say about this. I can follow up with Nathan because I'm sure he's. I feel like he's thought about this a little bit, but I'm not totally sure what the current state of the world is with this. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, no, I get that. There's no rush, but I'm always interested anyway, you know. Just curious. Yeah. So what was I looking at? I feel like there's surprisingly few. Oh, here it is. SQLsmith. Add support for multi-region syntax to SQLsmith. This is what I was looking for. What's up, DJD Duty? No coverage for multi-region abstractions. We don't have a seed schema that includes the multi-region abstractions for setup. We don't have support for partitioning DDLs on tables that use multi-region syntax. Yes. So I wonder what we can possibly do about this. So for example, why don't we take a look at let's take like the simplest multi-region abstraction, perhaps. It's going to be kind of tricky though, honestly. Because it's not just changing the schema of a table that you need to do. You also need to change the way that the cluster is actually set up. You need to actually tell the cluster that each of its nodes are in different regions and stuff like that, or else I feel like this stuff doesn't actually do anything. Set region information for each node in the cluster. Add one or more regions to a database, making it a multi-region database. One of these regions must be the primary region. Change table localities. Change the table's database's survival goals. So I think like the minimum thing that you'd have to do in this case would be to make it so that when you actually run this roach test, you actually use a database that has more than one node in it, which I think currently we don't. Actually do. I think right now we just expect a single node cluster, make cluster spec node count 1. Concat.app. Cool. feel like it's going to be tough for me to do something about this right now, but I want to. You know what I could do that we definitely haven't done in this is just at least add expression indexes. I don't think that we test expression indexes, and I think that's a lot more straightforward, and we can actually just do it. So, right, we have a partial index mutator, and we have a rand create table, but I doubt that our rand index table def includes computed indexes, or do they? They actually do. Replace the column with an expression 10% of the time. Is 10% too little? I don't know. It's hard to tune these knobs is the other thing. Like once you get all these different knobs, it's like, oh my gosh, how are you supposed to make sure that you're really covering the space in a way that you expect? I don't know. Cockroach is too magic black boxy. That's funny. I'll have to give the feedback to the team. That's actually, I feel like that's feedback that we haven't really heard, that it's too magic black boxy. I feel like most of the time people think that Cockroach is too complicated. I feel like that's the feedback we hear most often. It's like, okay, we can tell that this thing is like too much like an F1 car. You know, it's clearly extremely powerful, but it has so many, it's like a bit too complicated to configure. In fact, it's almost like not magic black boxy enough. It's, you know, it's very manual. You have to shift gears all the time and stuff like that. And so in fact, like one of the things that we did in this last release, that I was just looking at, this documentation here, I'll paste it for you, is we actually did make it quite a bit more magic black boxy, right? We sort of reduced some of this complexity, the gears, so to speak, into kind of, you know, modes that you could select that were sort of doing the same thing under the hood that you could always do, which is, you know, partitioning your database using the partition commands and partition by row, and then setting localities and zone configurations to pin your data to different nodes that you set up ahead of time, kind of just like you would in another database. Like Cassandra is a classic example that had some of these granular controls that were, you know, just very granular, right? So we have all of that control under the hood. And we actually made it more black boxy because of that user feedback, that it was like, gosh, this is powerful, but it's just such a pain in the butt to use. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I'm curious what you think about all that. But I will say that, you know, if you're looking at this page, DJD, and sorry to make this too much like an ad, it's just, I know about this a little bit. You can actually do all of this using the like lower level primitives that Cockroach gives you. So partitioning and zone configurations. Just something that you might want to think about. But you're not wrong about the licensing though. You can't use this stuff without an enterprise license, which is, you know, it is what it is. I can definitely, yeah. Magic black boxy impression might be coming from the fact that most databases do horizontal scaling as an afterthought. That's definitely true. Like if you look at some of these other ones, it is like they've been kind of bolted onto the top. Like Vitesse, you mentioned that was one of the alternatives. Vitesse it's kind of more clear to understand it because it's like, well, it's just MySQL, and then they like bolted a couple of like these partitioning and scaling things on top. And so like there's a very clear separation between the like core MySQL stuff and the Vitesse stuff, because that's like how it worked. Whereas CockroachDB, it was sort of designed like this from the start. Yeah, it could be. That could be. That would be more aligned with the feedback that we typically hear. I don't know though. Oh yeah, Percona. I've never really looked at Percona, but I've heard about it. Anyway, so we've got this expression indexing stuff, got this inverted indexing stuff. Yeah, I feel like this happens to me all the time. I'm like, okay, I really want to add more stuff to this random testing, and then I like run out of ideas. which is why I was excited to look at TLP today, because it's something that I haven't really played with so much. And I guess I did add something to TLP, but is it enough? Let me at least like finish writing the commit message that I said on this TLP change, and we'll see if anybody else finds it interesting or if it's just me. Okay, so this commit enhances the where TLP generator to also output the projection of the predicates in both the partition and unpartitioned query outputs. The purpose of this enhanced testing is to make sure that projection output is identical. No, it's basically to make sure that projection output always matches filter output, and that projection output for all 3 partitions is identical in every partition and in the non-partitioned case as well. So let's just at least make a PR out of this. The other thing that we could do is like, we could conceivably like continue running mutation statements concurrently with TLP, right? that would make the testing a lot more exciting. And then make sure that the TLP is running inside of a transaction. Although, is that just like wild? Is that just like too intense? I'm not sure. I feel like one thing that we could do to make things a little bit better would be to make this TLP thing just like a bit more modular, right? Like it should be able to be run as a roach test, yes, but we should also just be able to like start running TLP against any arbitrary test cluster. And that could be powerful because we have all these different test formats that could really use sort of a TLP style like verification that everything is still in a good state after a bunch of operations. I feel like we don't really have that. Actually, out of curiosity, when I do run TLP, how does it detect what's in the database? Does this thing actually query the database, or does it just use its current state? I think it uses its current state. Make bool expr calls. Calls is from get schema table, and this thing actually... What does this do? No, it uses the internal state. So you would have to always be running this via... Everything would have to be generated from a SQLsmith instance for it to work properly, which I guess is fine. We currently only test basic where, join, and max min query filters. We could also use testing other aggregations grouped by and having, which have all been implemented. Maybe we could add some more of those. That'd be fun. More SQLsmith. What else is in this thing? Or more TLP, rather. We have a distinct oracle. We have an extended where oracle, a group by oracle, a having oracle. What is extended where? So we set the where clause to a predicate. This seems to basically be the same as the, I don't actually see the difference between this and the normal where. So if I look at the where oracle, I would expect to see basically the same thing. What is the difference? Maybe it's just identical for no reason. Biggest problem I experienced in a single database multi-tenant was that if one of your customers wanted a certain feature, it becomes a chore maintaining who gets what. Ooh, yeah, that's definitely true. Java, yeah, dude. Gotta watch out for that log4j. Distinct oracle. So what does a distinct oracle do? It says select.setDistinct true. And then it says, let's just read the paper. I feel like this code is actually quite hard to read. Now here are the different oracles in the paper. It's kind of cool. So we can say select distinct blah from table. And then we just add the wheres, just like we would normally, except then the difference is that instead of comparing for identicalness, we have to compare for, we have to distinctify the entire output, I guess. Or we have to we have to redistinct everything. I suppose we could could we ask the database to do that, or would that sort of invalidate the entire point? That might kind of invalidate the entire point. All right, I should also probably update this doc to include the actual thing. So select star P, not P. P is null. True, false, false from table. So I suppose what we could do is have this return whether it's supposed to be distinct or not, basically. And then instead of just comparing them, we could compare them with like a set instead of a list sort of thing. How does this thing work? Unsorted matrices diff. Does it sort them? It append, then it sorts, then it diffs. Okay, so we could just sort, and then we could like uniqueify, and then we could diff, basically. So we can add a new one. Case 3, partition unpartitioned is equal to generate distinct TLP. And so it's supposed to say select columns, select distinct. How do you pick which columns to do? Because I think in this case, we're always doing star, which is sort of interesting. Can you do select distinct star in SQL? I feel like probably not. I guess you can. What's up, Lithium? You can't remember the last time you had a schema change error going to prod? It doesn't, it'd be inefficient if it worked. It doesn't let you do. I think it does seem to be working, right? Insert into A values 1, 2, 3. Do a couple of these, and then I do distinct star. It just gives me back 1. I think it does work. It's just not going to do anything in the cases where there's like a primary key, right? It'll know to avoid those. So I feel like probably what I should do here is instead of doing star, I should probably like find a way to just pick a couple set of columns. Get schema table. It does seem to give me back a list of tables. So what is that doing? A table expression without the index hints. DJD, by the way, if you do want to, sorry, I do feel like I'm shilling a bit too much, but if there's a whole bunch of people who use Cockroach who live in our community Slack, so you can join it if you want to talk with other people about Cockroach stuff. When I'm not streaming, you can go to it over here. So this refs, what is this giving me? Table expr. It just gives me back all of the columns. So I suppose what I could do is I could pick a random subset of columns. Maybe we can do that then. So we're going to say generate distinct TLP is going to say give me the calls, failed to find random table. And then to make my query here, what I'm going to do is I'll say unpartitioned is equal to format.sprintf select distinct, and then can I select distinct AB? I guess it has to, it's not in parentheses, so it's select distinct S from S, basically, right? Is that what it is? It's interesting that you can always include joins here, which I don't quite get that, but we'll ignore that for now. Select distinct columns from tables. Okay, so given that, we're going to say select distinct blah from, and the question is, how do we assemble this call string? So we'll go to make a call string, and the table is going to be called table name. Get rid of this alias. It doesn't seem necessary. And our call string is going to be like, okay, so we'll say calls. How do I get a random subset? This thing is call refs, which is a list of refs. So I guess I just need to, is there a way to get a random subset in Go? Probably there's like no function for that. Go random set of slice. I guess I could shuffle and then take the first n. Okay, I'll do it that way. So take a random subset of the columns to distinct on. What happens in SQL if you say select star distinct A B from A? Does that not work? Like, how do I... I guess there's no way to do that. Okay, whatever. So we'll see select distinct whatever from whatever. This call string, we're going to first do ran.shuffle. I guess we need to use our RNG too. So s.rng, rnd.shuffle. And how does this work? It's the pseudo randomizes the order, n is the number of elements. So it's going to be len of calls. And then the swap func is going to be func ij int calls I calls j is equal to calls j calls I. So we shuffle this thing. Then we're going to say n is equal to s.rnd dot int n of len of calls. And this gives me back between 0 and up to n. And I think we need to make sure that it's more than 0. Yeah, no worries. I think it's, yeah. More of a lurky kind of place anyway, but, you know, just for your reference, that's all. You don't, definitely no pressure to do anything there. Okay, so we're going to randomize this. I think what we need to do is actually say, okay, so basically we want to say, make sure that this thing is at least one size, right? So that would mean basically we just need to say if n is equal to 0, n is equal to 1, because we're guaranteed that this thing is always at least size 1, and if we end up picking 0, let's just pick 1. Or the other option is that we can say we can plus 1 on this guy to make sure that we, and then subtract 1. Wait, does this make any sense? What am I even doing? Okay, I want to do this. I want to subtract 1 from the total number, except in the case if it's the whole thing is size. Okay, whatever. Forget this. Like I'll just make it so that if it's 0, it turns into 1. That should be good enough. Okay, and we'll get rid of this as well. So then we're gonna say calls. So we're gonna say for I in range is equal to 0. I is less than. So I guess we could say for I in range calls of n. We just need to, I guess we could just say strings.join calls n, except these things aren't strings, are they? This is irritating. So what is calls again? Calls is the call ref, and that has a type and an item inside. And what is an item? It does have a name, right? So how do other people like extract the names from these things?
Ill will describes a state of the mind that arises from negative emotions. In that state of the mind, you have an aversion, a
Inner
rejection,
ag
or simply a dislike against
of first.
a situation or can be even a person. To simplify, it means you are climbing the mountain
Confused. What do we
and it starts to rain.
make bool expert on calls? Make const expert with refs. Make call ref. Get call ref. So if you run typed expert on a call ref, it gives you back something that you can print, I guess. Then you say dot format. Okay, that's so complicated. An F is a format context. Okay. Okay. Let's see if I can. Okay, so basically, for I in range, I just want to make them. I want to turn them all into strings. So we're gonna just say call stirs is equal to make string len or n. We're gonna say for I equals.
Roads are bumpy because you don't like bumpy roads. In order to
I guess we could just say for ref and range calls of n,
whatever it is that
calls stirs of I is equal to ref dot typed expert dot string, basically.
is more likely even
Or does it need to be a special format context? Format parsable it has to be. So I have to say tree dot as string with flags ref dot typed expert format context. Or whatever this thing is called, F. Okay. Or as string. How do I use this guy? Format context says. Oh, I can just do it like this with flags, and then instead of passing F, I'll just pass tree dot format parsable. Does the cockroach have enterprise licenses? Yes, it does. Yeah, we probably didn't have that before when you were evaluating it at first. It's relatively new. Okay, so we're going to transform all these things to strings. Then we're going to say strings.join call stirs, comma, sep is the comma. Okay, great. That was taking forever, but call stir, it's like calls stir is equal to, or let's maybe call it distinct calls. Okay, so then we get to say distinct whatever, distinct calls from this thing. Okay, we're making progress, but it's taking forever, but that's fine. So we make a bool expert, we format it. I think this is fine. Then our part one is going to be select distinct where S. So the select distinct blah where S. And then part two and part three. Part two is going to be where not this thing, just like we did before, and then where this thing is null. And then our partitioned is going to be select what is our partition going to be? Just like the original one that we had. So blah, union, all blah, union, all blah. So select, and is this one in parens usually? Yes. Blah, union, all, blah, union, all, blah. Okay, let's actually try this out then. So I think hopefully this will work. Generate distinct TLP. Let's make this always equal to 3, just so we can try it out. Make bin roach test. What's up, Katie? Then we're gonna run this guy. See what we get. Seems like it's working. So that's exciting. I guess it's not surprising, but it's a little boring. Wouldn't it be cool if it instantly failed? Because then we would know something's busted. We would know something is busted for sure. Although, I feel like something is busted, right? Because we're not Let's just wipe all of these artifacts. Goodbye. Let's run again. See what we get. This is all working fine. Let's now take a look at some of the logs that we've got here. Yeah, so what's up with this? It's like we log all the inserts, but we don't seem to log the selects, which is really a mystery. So what is that about? I truly have no clue. Truly have no clue. How could it be? Okay, we're going go nuclear. We're gonna go nuclear. I'm just gonna use fmt.printf because I do not understand why this isn't working and it's a waste of my time. So make bin, row chest. Okay, how is this not printing? I don't understand it. It must be like hijacking standard out, which really incenses me. The hosted CRDB instances are, of course, enterprise licensed. They have everything. I mean, the other option is I suppose I could. Yeah, what? I'm so confused. Why? Why? Ignore errors. What if there are errors? What if there are errors? Could that be the issue? Okay, well, let's not just put a smiley face. We're gonna put the actual error. What if there are errors? Why are we ignoring these? That doesn't make any sense. Who needs breakpoints? Eh. I don't even know how to run this thing. Like, I don't even know how to figure out where this thing is logging. Like, do you think I have any hope of actually running it inside of the debugger? I feel like the answer is like clearly no. I've got to just YOLO it, use panics. It's the only way. Please panic, please, please, please panic. No. Why? Why is this impossible to understand? I don't get it. I really don't get it. Okay. And why does it only get called run 1 when I've had several runs at this point? This makes no sense. I'm so upset. And there's this, but it doesn't have the selects. How is this happening to me? It's driving me absolutely bonkers. Okay. Up. I found two new spots that could have errors. I've got to add those ones as well. Panic-driven development is the only way. Please panic. Please panic. Thank God. Whew. Okay, no data source matches prefix. I've just screwed something up that's very basic, obviously, and I just haven't noticed, and that's why nothing's working, and I should feel sad. Okay, so let's carefully figure out what the heck is going on here. I didn't include a from, so it seems pretty clear that I didn't include a from, and yet somehow missed it. So let's go ahead and fix that. Oh wait, these don't need froms. Do they? What does the where case do? The where case is my example here. The where case says select star from blah. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay, clearly I am just acting crazy here. And I need to get my act together. Table name, table name, table name. Okay. We're making progress. It's actually happening. Surprise, surprise, progress is happening. Aren't we so excited? Shouldn't we feel so good? Okay. Run our test. What is this? Cluster local already exists. Okay. Cluster local already exists. Why? What the? Please. I don't understand this infrastructure, and it's getting in my way, and I'm upset and sad. Okay. Come on. What am I doing wrong? Dude. Ah, man. Okay. Why is this a thing? Okay, hold on. I'm going to get rid of this for a second. Maybe I need to sync or something, or... Ah, man. This is annoying. I wish that this was just a unit test. I feel like it should be a unit test. It should run against an in-memory cluster. And that would really like reduce a lot of my problems here. And instead we're using sort of this like other infrastructure that is a bit more challenging to use. And I don't know why it's necessary. It says, it says it already exists, but then it also says no cluster to destroy. So what in the world am I supposed to do with this? Maybe this is just going to be motivation for me to de-roach testify this thing and have it instead just run locally. Like I thought that we had, yeah, we have this, right? Random syntax SQL Smith, right? So I feel like we could conceivably also make one for TLP. Because this is just, it's just too much. It's too annoying. It's driving me absolutely bonkers. It's not, I'm done. I'm done with it. It's too irritating. Too irritating. So we're just going to basically copy all of this stuff. It's a lot of code to copy as a thing. So I guess I should make a helper. But most of this is ignorable. The vast majority of this is ignorable. I think. Let's just copy all this stuff for now, and we'll clean it up in a little bit once we at least have something working. Okay. So we make a new smither. We need to pass in a connection. Okay, so we're gonna first make a cluster. So cluster is equal to test cluster dot new test cluster t one node node test cluster args. Then cluster dot stopper dot stop ctx is equal to context dot background. Just a bunch of boilerplate setup over here real quick. Defer this guy. Okay, so then we can say con is equal to cluster dot cons of 0. And then we can say rnd is equal to, how do I get one of these guys again? This comes from randutil.new test rand. Okay. So we'll get rid of this. We'll get rid of this. We'll just set it to for I is equal to I in range, I is equal to 0, I less than, I don't know, 10,000, I plus plus. What's up, cool cat? How you doing? Okay, so then we're gonna do this run TLP query thing, which in this case, we need to actually grab this whole thing. So this sort of needs to be like, yeah, factored out, I guess. But again, we can just kind of copy it, whatever. It's fine. It is literally fine. It's like 5 lines of code. So blah blah blah, generate TLP, con.query. Yeah, dude, ternary logic partitioning. TLP, do I have a command for this? No, I don't. TLP. TLP. So cool. Okay, just don't sue me, man. I'm just copying this stuff for now. Don't get me in trouble. Okay, so now we have this actual thing in a normal test, which I feel like will be much easier to actually play with, you know what I mean? Okay, so then we can go and say make test package equals package SQL tests equals test TLP. Yeah, submit the lawsuit, dude. I'm getting sued. Index out of range 0 with length 0. TLP test 34. Okay. I have to say cluster.start t. Exhausted generation attempts? Okay, that's a weird one. What is that? If I is greater than 1,000. Oh, do I need to set up? I forgot to do my initial setup. Okay, so there's a bunch of annoying crap to do for sure. It's not wrong. Maybe this is a fool's errand. I don't know. I forgot to generate my initial schema. So there's that to do as well. I've got to do this whole thing. Nami, what's up? There's been a bunch of people jumping back in today. You said hi, Nikon said hi. Cool Cat, I haven't seen in a while. It's like a reunion tour for the homies. Yeah. Should I make a Discord? I've been thinking about making a Discord. Like all the other Twitch streamers. But it seems like a lot of effort, so I haven't really done it. Everyone's pogging. Do you need to know something special to set up a Discord that's not like completely busted? Because I feel like I might not know how to do it properly. Okay, so everyone has like extra nulls. This is starting to become annoying. Then again, it's just the distinct test that's failing, so that's a good thing. It looks like somebody just has an extra element, so I've got to go figure out what the deal is with that. Yeah, why would this be different? I don't know. 'Tis a mystery. Okay. What's the basic thing that you have to do? Make a server, and then what do you do with like roles? Do you have to like do roles or anything like that? Permissions, invites, general. All right, here we go, boys and girls and in-betweens. Oh man, this is gonna be sweet. I can already tell this is a great idea. Yet another thing to promote. Yeah, well, we can set up, we can do stuff here, I guess. What does one do with the Discord? You chat with your community. We can all hang out and talk databases whenever we've got free time, right? Post memes. Post memes. I like it. I like it. Well, this is going to be lots of fun. It's going to be lots of fun. Okay, so I think part of the problem here is that we have got to actually do the thing that we were talking about where we distinctify the outputs, or else we'll definitely be in trouble. So I think we might need to like change each of these signatures to, or change this signature to include a distinctify thing or something like that. Or I suppose we could actually do it in, no, we can't do it in here because the results don't come until later. Oh, whoops. Thanks. Forgot to show the screen. A key thing. A key thing. I get like paranoid about like leaking stuff. People are like, don't leak your something on Discord. So I closed it until you said something. We've got to say like, you know, got to have like a distinct bool kind of thing. Oh, I see. So args is supposed to be a list of interface and var distinct bool. So here we're just going to return like this. And then here we're going to say distinct equals true. Unused variable distinct. Oh, that is true. Okay, so then when we run this, we're going to actually have to go and check it. So we'll say like so, and then distinct will get passed into our unsorted matrices diff guy. And if we have a distinct, then what we're going to do is make sure that our, it's got to be like a, is there like a sort.unique or something? Is there really not a uniqueify thing in Go? This is like so annoying. Guess I could just stick them all into a map. Whoops. What's up, decubed? Okay, so there's no there's no uniqueifier, I guess. So I just need to do it by hand, I guess. So we can just say if distinct, we're gonna say for I in range rows 1. You can say, I guess it's sort of like for I is equal to 1, I is less than len of rows 1, I plus plus. And say if, I feel like this is an embarrassing time to come watching somebody write production code. By the way, I'm also not even writing production code right now. I'm like writing complicated, fancy test code. So I'm just doing whatever. But I guess what I would want to do here is, what do I even do? I basically say if rows 1 of I is equal to rows 1 of I minus 1, then basically I'm going to say, oh, what do I say? I kind of like, I like want to slide everything over or something like that. I guess I could make a new array. Oh, you know what I do is I say rows of How does this work? I think I want to basically keep like setting the last value to the last value or something, and then like if I see a duplicate at the current step, I just want to not advance my I basically. I think I want to say like n is equal to 0. Like n is equal to 1. I always say rows 1 of, down here I'm going to say rows 1 of I is equal to rows 1 of n. And if these are not equal, then I'm going to advance n. Something like that, right? Does that work? So I started, like we skipped 0. I start at 1. If these things are different, so I think I start at 0 here. These things are different. Then I advance n. And I set, no, this is messed up for sure. I feel like I've used this pattern 100 times and I forget like the exact, hold on. I think I wrote this same thing somewhere else in the, it's like a uniqueify byte slices or something. Uniqueify byte slices. What does this do? Sort slice. I basically am doing the same thing. Last unique index. I start with I. Start I equals 1. I plus 1 if they're not equal to, and then I set. I have it backwards. I guess I'm setting the nth one to the ith one. So I'm setting the nth one to the ith one. Okay. How about that? Procrastinating refactoring code because it'll be painful. That's fair. So I guess I'll say for slice is equal to range. Okay, so I uniqueify these slices, and then I have to, at the bottom, say slice. I guess I gotta say, oh my god, this is so annoying. Oh, man. Then I get to say slices of I is equal to, this is the outer I, so I've got to be careful. Slices of IDX is equal to slice to n. And then I say down here, I'm so embarrassed right now. Rows 1, rows 2 is equal to slices of 0, slices of 1. Okay. All right. Let's run our test. And of course, we didn't actually apply this thing. This also needs to be copied, which is, again, super hyper gross to this test case that I've added. Definitely got to fix that. All right. So many failures. Why? Let's actually, okay, let's switch something. Instead of doing t.error, we're going to do t.fatal. So we'll just quit instantly. Let's try one more time here. Integer out of range, TLP 60, t.error. Okay, but I think that can be ignored. I also want to, it's kind of annoying that it only prints out the diff. Right? Diff, unpartitioned, partitioned. And I actually want to also print out unpartitioned rows, partitioned rows, just to understand. Okay. So we have one case that's just empty and another case that's just null. Why is that? One thing that's weird is we do get all of these setup errors. I'm not sure if those matter. Null value violates non-null constraint. I guess we just don't try to avoid those. We get a lot of these differences where it's like one is null and one is empty. So why would that be the case? It's like we see select distinct, which gives me nothing back. Whereas if we do select distinct where union all, select distinct where union all. So let's just check in our demo here. We're gonna create a table. What if it's just empty? And we do this exact same thing. Zero rows, right? But then what if I say where a is equal to 3? Union all. Not equal to 3. Seems to be the same. So that doesn't, so what is the issue here? What is the actual issue here? Could it be the fact that we have this outer select? Is that a problem? I feel like that's a little weird. Why do we have that outer select? That doesn't seem quite right to me. Generate distinct. Yeah, this doesn't seem right, does it? Yeah, I don't think that's right. Okay, so maybe that's my issue, is I just have a basic mistake here. I think it should look like this. Let's try that. Let's see if that fixes things. Oops. Okay, now things are taking a bit longer, so that could be a good thing. So we got a bunch of these random errors, but I think these are all like insert time errors, so I think they can be ignored, and I think this means that we passed. Right? Let's make sure here. So right, like why would we be TLP test 60 t.error? Yeah, so I think we want to actually ignore these as well. Ignore generation errors. Now there's definitely an open question how to refactor this so that it can be shared across both of the systems, but so far this is, I think, promising. What's up, Coob? All right, I think this is good. I think that this little test case is probably needing to be fixed, but I feel like what we've done in terms of actually the unique TLPer is good, maybe, and we'll see what the team thinks about it. So TLP, it's this paper. Whoops, I keep forgetting to actually do that. Commands add TLP. TLP, ternary logic partitioning, is a test technique by Manuel Rigger that partitions SQL queries by predicates to assert that the partitioned result is identical to the non-partitioned result. So it's more like that the union of the partitioned results is identical to the non-partitioned result. How about that? And the reason it's ternary is that in SQL, there's all of the logic is sort of three ways, right? Because we've got true, false, and null in SQL. And so for a predicate, any predicate is always going to have one of the three possible values, true, false, or null. And so if you partition the query by the predicate's values and then union them all together, it's got to have exactly the same values as the query without the partition. So that's what TLP is about, if that makes sense. So then I guess what we can do here is add a, let's see, git restore staged 1. Let's just go ahead and say git add -p 1 and 2. So we want this, we don't want this. We don't want this, we don't want this, we don't want this, we don't want this, we do want this, we do want this, we do want this, we do want this. We want to edit this. This should be s.rnd.int n of 5. And we want this as well. 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 Okay. We can make a new commit here. SQLsmith, implement distinct TLP Oracle. The distinct Oracle for TLP generates queries of the following form. Okay, I think that's that. So then what's next is what? Guess we have to make a doc string for this. The idea is I can create a partition query out of a normal query by some construction and those should have the same result. If they don't, there's a bug of the DBMS. Yes, exactly. Exactly. It's a very nice and simple technique, but it's very powerful. And if you read that paper, you can see that he's found bugs in many databases with it. So he kind of reached out to us and talked to us about it, and then we implemented it in our own database for testing, and it's been pretty useful. So it's pretty cool, I think. Okay, so we've got a doc string, git add dash p. No, yes, git commit, amend. Okay, so let's just go ahead and push. And let's go back to our test. Okay, so now that that's done, I want to just quickly jump back and fix the test cases of this other PR that we were working on earlier. Let's just stash this for now. I'd like to get this kind of wrapped up because it's starting to annoy me. Okay, so that's called reviewable. Is that what you're talking about? Or this thing? Reviewable. Commands add reviewable. Reviewable is a code review system that's layered on top of GitHub that provides a few more powerful code review tools than native GitHub reviews, such as intra-commit diffing and diffing across force pushed rebased commit chains. I guess I should also All right. I think that reviewable is good, but GitHub reviews has also gotten better over the years. I'm not sure, like I'm used to it at this point, but I'm not sure if I would pick it today over GitHub reviews. Depends on how complicated the stuff I'm working on is, I guess. Okay, so at least I had these two. But I think, unfortunately, it's probably not. Make test package equals package SQL opt builder tests equals test builder unique checks insert. Hello, Indie Beto. Right now we're kind of jumping back and forth between two projects. The other thing I was looking at was this guy here, which is an enhancement to CockroachDB's insert on conflict statement to include a fancy different way of specifying the constraint on which to do conflict detection. Okay, so this is still broken though, which is concerning. Why would this be different? So I don't get that. Let's see. Show. Oh. Wait, this is my own code. I actually think this is fine. So we just need to use test flags equals rewrite. I think we should be good to go. It's not like it changed an existing test case, which would be a little bit worse. But why did this? Oh. Shoot. Yeah, definitely got to, I should probably factor these errors out, right? Because they're exactly the same. Yeah. Let's make a quick function for this. Guess we can, wonder if we can extract a function here. Maybe not. Extract method. Function. See you later. Thanks for stopping by. New. Unique constraint block for table blah is partial. Unique. Ooh, index versus constraint. Ah. So annoying. No, let's just both call them both constraints. I think it's basically fine. So it's like invalid. It's like, what is it called? Partial index arbiter error. Be right back. I mentioned the landlord changed the locks. Had to let my girlfriend in. Okay, so this is actually a tree.name. Okay. Then we can pull this down here. And should be good. Should be good to go. On conflict. Okay. So that's a little bit cleaner. Let's just make it like this, I guess. All right. Yeah. Okay, so let's run this again. Okay. So hopefully this will now pass CI and we'll be happy. And yeah, so we actually added the distinct TLP oracle, which is pretty cool. And I suppose like next step, we could also add the having oracle here. But we haven't, don't think we've done that. Don't think we've done this group by oracle either. Oh, here's this where extended, by the way. So p existing, I don't know what this p existing does. I guess it just filters it even more. What is p existing? So based on an existing where clause in a predicate p existing, partitioning queries are derived that use the and operator to add an additional ternary variant to the predicate. Based on queries that already have a where predicate. Okay, so I think we could ignore that. Okay, well anyway, I think that this is probably a good place to stop. I feel like we did pretty good. Did pretty good. And maybe that's a good thing. Yeah? Yeah? So maybe we'll find someone to raid now. What do you guys think? What are you guys up to? What are you guys doing now? Dinner time for Nikon? That is cool. Thanks for stopping by. It's always nice to see you. Who is streaming stuff? Who is streaming stuff? Nami just came home. Making the application multi-tenant. Nice. That is exciting. Hey, well, now that you're doing your own business, Nikon, you should probably just be streaming all of your work since you own it and you can do whatever you want, right? We can come hang out on your stream. You can make anything exciting if you put the right energy into it. That's what I think. Think about it. Think about it. Who is streaming? How about wow, what is this person? Anthony for Kidder. Okay, let's raid this person. I don't know what their deal is, but they seem cool. They have an extremely cool stream setup, so let's raid them. Raid Anthony from Kidder. All right, y'all. It's been a good time. Let's give them the old, you know, give them one of these, give them one of these, give them one of these, you know, give them one of these. Let's give them one of these. Get it in your clipboard. You guys ready? You have it in your clipboards? Let's give them a raid, you know, an old school style pasting raid. Cool. Thanks all. Oh yeah, join the Discord. Join the Discord. I have a new thing to announce, and it's the Discord. Join the Discord, get this stuff into your paste buffer, and I'll see you guys next Friday. All right? All right. Goodbye.